Dear friends, how could policy and regulatory framework for GovTech be complete in Indian context if we don't talk about IT Act 2000 and its amendments that happened in 2008 and 2018? Yes, this is our final session, session number 10, which would talk about IT Act 2000 and its amendments. In this, we would talk about how this act came into existence, what are the salient features of the act, what are the bodies that have been created out of this act, what are the corresponding acts which control civil and criminal aspect of technology, what are the related amendments of 2008 as well as 18, and what are the critical objectives of looking at IT Act 2000 and what are the scope of improvement for IT Act. With the advent of e-commerce in somewhere in 1990s, when electronic transactions were crossing the boundaries, there was a need to harmonize the laws. Therefore, based on UNICITRAL model, IT Act of India was enacted in year 2000. UNICITRAL model stands for United Nations Commission on International Trade Law. IT Act was subsequently amended in 2008 and then in 2018. The UNCITRAL law is the legal body of the United Nations system in the field of international trade law. It was drafted somewhere in 1996 when electronic commerce regulations were set up, and it was taken as the model law. The e-commerce and IT laws of almost all the countries have been modeled on this model law. India has been the 12th nation in the world to adopt IT laws. Our IT Act applies to the whole of India and also applies to any offence or contravention thereby committed outside India by any person irrespective of his nationality, if such act involves a computer system or network located in India. There are 94 sections segregated into 13 chapters and 4 schedules in IT Act 2000. The various objectives of IT Act 2000 is to suitably amend existing laws in India to facilitate e-commerce. Second, to provide legal recognition of electronic records and digital signatures. 3. To provide legal recognition to the transactions carried out by means of electronic communication or form. IT Act of India also provides legal recognition to business contracts and creation of rights and obligations through electronic media. It aims to establish a regulatory body to supervise the certifying authorities issuing digital signature certificates. It also has an objective to create civil and criminal liabilities for breaching, flouting of the provisions of the Act. IT Act 2000 also has an objective to amend the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934 so as to facilitate electronic fund transfers between the financial institutes. It also has an objective to amend the Bankers Books Evidence Act. It also has an objective to make law in tune with the model law on electronic commerce obtained by United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, UNCITRAL, adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations in 1997. If I have to sum up salient features of IT Act of India, I would just sum up in 2 points. Number 1, IT Act of India provides legal recognition of electronic records and electronic signatures. Number 2, it defines various types of computer crimes as well as provides for stringent penalties for each of them. As I had mentioned, several statutory bodies have been created out of IT Act. I would name some of them. First, Computer Emergency Response Team of India, CERT-IN, a national body. Number 2, National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, NCIIPC. Number 3, Cyber Appellate Tribunal, CAT. Last but not the least, Controller of Certifying Authority, CCA. These bodies have been created out of IT Act of our country. IT Act of our country classifies computer crimes in 2 categories, civil offences and criminal offences. Civil offences have been covered by section 43 and criminal offences have been covered by section 65, 66, 66B to 66X, 67, 67A, 67B, 72 and 72A. The details of each of these sections have been delineated in the presentation which you will find loaded on iapa.org.in. However, I would just highlight some important sections. First section, section 43A, talks about sensitive personal data protection. It institutionalizes body corporate to implement reasonable security protections and practices for data protection. Body corporate must implement ISO 27001 or other industry approved security practices to protect personal sensitive information. Now, some of you might ask me, what is personal sensitive information? Personal sensitive information, as we had also talked in data protection session, includes our passwords, our financial information such as bank account, credit debit account, payment instrument details. It also talks about our physical, physiological and mental health condition. It talks about sexual orientation. It talks about our medical records and history. It also includes our biometric information. Another is section 69. Section 69 gives power to Ministry of Home Affairs and state governments to issue directions for interception or monitoring or decryption of any information through any computer resource. Section 69A also gives power to MeitY to issue directions for blocking public access of any information through any computer resource. Section 69B authorizes our Computer Emergency Response Team India (CERT-In) to monitor and collect traffic data or information through any computer resource. Further, section 69A also gives power to issue directions for blocking public access of information through any computer resource which damages sovereignty or integrity of India, defense of India, security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, or is inciting the public for any cognizable offence related to any of above. There is a very important aspect of IT Act which is titled as due diligence by intermediaries. This is through section 79, which provides immunity to intermediaries for provided they follow due diligence and guidelines. Intermediaries guidelines have been notified on 11th April 2011. It says publish privacy policy and user agreement on website. It says inform users not to upload, publish or transmit content which is grossly harmful, which could be defamatory, which could be obscene, which could be pornographic, which could be pedophilic and many more such things, so that the national harmony and national social values are maintained. Due diligence by intermediaries also involve that the content that harms minors in any ways, that infringes any patent, trademark, copyright or any other proprietary rights or violates any law of the land for the time being should not be uploaded. And the intermediaries should immediately disable the content within 36 hours if they are informed by the affected person or come to know on their own that such kind of content is there. Intermediaries should also publish name of grievance officer on their website. There is another aspect of IT Act which is called as notification of examiner of electronic evidences. MeitY, the Ministry of Electronics and IT, has been authorized to issue notification to state and central government forensic labs as examiner of electronic evidence as per section 679A. Let's talk about IT Act amendments 2008 specifically. In order to ensure that the law keeps pace with the rapidly changing technological environment, IT Act 2000 was amended in year 2008 by formulating changes in the rules and government notification. It came into effect from October 27, 2009. Major amendments of IT Act 2008 could be just summarized as Section 15 that insisted on technology being neutral, Section 79A that establishes an examiner, Section 69 and 69A which gave power to the government for electronic interception, Section 43, 43A, 66E and 72A where body corporate should be liable to pay compensation if it is negligent in implementing reasonable security precautions with respect to sensitive personal data. Section 67B specifically talks about child pornography. Section 66F talks about cyber terrorism where 8 new cyber offences have been added. Section 66A, 266F and 67 talk about non-bailable offences. IT Act Amendment Bill 2018. Ministry of Electronic and IT has amended the IT Act 2000 by way of the IT Amendment Bill 2018. The IT bill was prepared in response to certain online activities such as the Blue Whale Challenge, which induced several individuals, primarily children in India and across the world, to commit self-harm. New provisions in IT Act after Amendment 18 included Section 67BA that deals with penalty on publishing or transmitting any material which could be against the cultural ethos. Section 67BB related with hosting of dangerous online games. Particularly Section 679B. A new section was introduced in 2018 amendment that highlighted the fact that if anyone that hosts online gaming resources or produces any storage media containing gaming resources to be sold offline, then he or she should ensure following things. Number 1, the game resource must be categorized for use by appropriate age groups on the basis of content of the game. Number 2, the game contains a mechanism that should warn users against the repetition in real life of the dangerous acts depicted in the game. So dear friends, we have understood IT Act, we have understood IT Act 2008, we have understood the recent amendments also. However, our IT Act still needs to be upgraded on various fronts. For example, the law completely misses out on issue of intellectual property rights and provides no provision whatsoever for copywriting, trademarking or patenting of electronic data and information. The law even stays silent over the regulation of electronic payments gateway and segregates the negotiable instruments from the applicability of the IT Act. There is also a problem with Social Media Intermediaries Act. In social media, the majority of the data is crowdsourced, which is posted on the basis of the citizens' responses or people's response, and the data thus collected is supposed to provide valuable insights. However, in India, most of the internet intermediaries enjoy a safe harbor. They are not held responsible for the content displayed on their platforms. This no or zero responsibility of the social media site for the content displayed could be very harmful. They are held responsible only if flagged by the users, whereas the information could be fake or hate, but till it's not flagged, it keeps on being hosted on social media. There is another aspect which IT Act is not pointing out, which is the difference between fact checking and surveillance. The location of the users on social media is a form of surveillance, whereas it is cited to be used for fact verification and deduction. This is a very important point. This data, as I said, could become a source of surveillance at a mass level by the state or by even the spying nation states. I personally feel it is breach of privacy under IT Act, PDP bill, personal data protection and IT intermediary guidelines if user platform data or information or activities is shared without any prior consent of the user himself or herself. It's very important for me to point out here that India accounts for just 3% of the global cybersecurity jobs. While this low figure is due to the sensitive nature of securing region-specific digital assets, it is also a result of the lack of specialization provided in this field. India ranks third in terms of highest number of internet users in the world after USA and China. The number has grown six-fold between 12 and 17 with a compound annual growth of 44%. So look at the dichotomy. On one side, we have this highest number of internet users. On other side, we don't contribute substantially to global cybersecurity scenario. I would just sum up this situation by saying that India should have a dedicated cybersecurity law. The IT Act 2000 read with the rules and regulations framed thereafter are actually not adequate to address cybersecurity and related cyber crimes. This is more specific during COVID times when cyber attacks have grown. Indian organizations have actually reported an increase in 100% cyber attacks between March 17 and now, where we have figured out that in absence of set guidelines or precautionary steps or any stringent cybersecurity act, our citizens as well as organization are very vulnerable with regard to cyber security. Therefore, there is need for strong and bold steps required both from the government and policy makers to address the need of the hour, which is cyber security. There is a need for agile policy making with regard to our IT Act. There is need for a proactive approach for using technology in all aspects of governance. Any act, any policy should be focusing on preventions and should be designed pre-threat. It should be technology agnostic. It should be multi-collaborative, where everybody should be able to contribute to its design. Privacy and security should be built up by design. It should have robust feedback loops. So much more for us to do together. Thanks. Jai Hind.